Well, hello there. So I started out with my little B, which is an amazing paintbrush to use to lay out your paint. I had grabbed her first because I had left my blue Wave, which is the bigger version of the little B, sitting over on the side. So I will grab the blue Wave in a moment. So how I started this piece was I went ahead and used a seafoam green type color as my base. I just painted that on with my blue Wave paintbrush, Paint Pixie paintbrush, and let it dry. Now I'm going to do some blending. My whole idea on this project is to let the seafoam green show through. So I had grabbed some dark brown espresso colored, coffee colored paint, just laid it out. I'm still using my little B, and I'm going to go over the top and kind of just start blending it up a little bit. Just giving it a little bit of it kind of went to a gray color because I was using it's an off-white color to get this effect. So we're going to go ahead and blend it up just a little bit, just adding, a little paint here and there. It doesn't really take a lot of paint. These brushes lay out the paint so well that it kind of just paints itself. So I am using 2 colors of paint, well, 3 colors. The base coat was 1, but I'm going to only blend with the 2 colors, with the espresso brown and the off-white. I'm just going to do that. What happens is when you take the off-white into the espresso brown, you get this really cool gray. So now I'm going to grab my blue Wave, and I thought, oh, there she is. I needed her all along. She lays out paint like no other. So I am just laying out another base coat of the espresso brown color. It is a dark brown. I know it's kind of hard to see in the camera. It almost looks black, but it actually is an espresso brown. So we're going to go ahead and just keep laying that out. Now, if your paintbrush gets a little bit, I use one container to paint out of both colors, a dark brown and the lighter white. It doesn't matter if they mix because they're going to mix on the piece anyhow. So it's okay. I use one paintbrush basically. Usually, I had just forgot that I had my blue Wave sitting there and decided to grab her because she lays out paint a little bit quicker. Because she's bigger. She's twice the size. Now the little B was actually designed to fit into an 8-ounce jar of paint. That way you wouldn't have to pour it into a container. But since I paint for a living, I generally have I don't use 8-ounce jars of paint. I use big ones in my squeeze bottles. So I squeeze it into a small throwaway square plastic container and I go to town. So we're just blending in the 2 colors together, the dark brown, the off-white. We're just blending them together. My actual end result is going to have a stone-like look, and you'll see that here further in the video that it actually does give it a appear of kind of like plaster or stone after we get this paint blended. Now, to lay out the paint with the blue Wave, which is Paint Pixie's synthetic brush. It's great for blending. It's great for laying out paint. I apply top coats with it. I use it all around. I will dust furniture with it, dust the dust off. I mean, to tell you the truth, it's got so many applications that you can use it for. It really, really does. When I start putting the lighter color on, I am grabbing my little girl, my little B. It's short for little blue Wave, and I'm going ahead and going over the top. Now what I'm going to start doing is putting very, very little paint on my little B brush. Right here, I'm going to start putting a little bit of paint, and I'm going to start just going over the features of it. As you can tell, I haven't re-dipped the paint. I'm using the same first dip of paint. What this is doing is giving me that now look of stone, aged stone plaster. It's crazy how easily this brush allows it. Now I got a little carried away there, put a little bit too much white. I just took my blue Wave and went right over it with the espresso brown color. No harm, no foul. There are no wrong ways of painting, you guys. If you don't like it, paint over it. The Little B is awesome for making a dry brush technique. So what I do when I dry brush is I just dip my brush into the paint very so lightly. If I put too much on, I can dip it off to a paper towel and take it off. It's called dry brush for a reason, meaning your brush needs to be pretty dry. What it does is it skips over the top of the chalk paint, and when you have a little bit of paint, it gives you that illusion of like aged stone plaster look. I will do a close-up here in a little bit, and let me tell you, it really, by going over it, I'm just going over lightly. I'm not redipping my brush. Maybe 2 or 3 times for the whole piece I redip my brush. I am just going over, and now it's just barely got any paint on the end of it, and it's just giving me that look of plaster. Here you go. This is what it looks like up close. Can you see how it looks and how cool the texture is from this brush? So this is a combination of the Little B and the Blue Wave Paint Pixie synthetic brushes. So my end result I wanted was for that beautiful seafoam green color to show through. So how you achieve that is you take some sandpaper. I'm using a 150 grit right here. You can use a 150 or a 220, but I decided to use a 150 because I wanted to really cut through. Look at that now. Isn't that amazing? So now the blue seafoam green is popping through. I am taking my dusty brush, which is a Paint Pixie natural bristle brush. The dusty was designed to dust off the dust of your furniture. But guess what, guys? You can still paint with it. I love to paint with it just like I do my Blue Wave. I now have grabbed the Cera wax brush. That is a Paint Pixie all natural bristle wax brush. This is my all-time favorite wax brush. I have like 20 of them in my paint box. I use it to teach my classes. I use it for everything. I put a thin coat of wax, and then I'm going to grab my buffers to take the wax off. You know, Paint Pixie has the best selection of buffers. If you're a furniture artist or you're a budding furniture artist, you've got to put these in your toolkit. This is the Buff, because he's a big buff dude, and he is taking off the wax. And this is Buffy, a little bit smaller version of Buff, and she gets into those little corners, crevices. And now my project is soft as can be. Now I'm grabbing my 1C flat top brush. I'm going to use a little bit of dark wax to enhance this piece, because let me tell you guys, dark wax is where it's at when you want to get that lusciousness and you want that piece to pop. Without adding dark wax, and I'm just adding it in the crevices, the little holes, I'm going to add some too. I'm going to take my Buffy and I'm going to go over and smooth all that in. So what it does is it kind of makes the wax melt into your piece. It smooths it out. It gives it, it doesn't look like a hot mess like it does right now. As soon as you buff over the top, it just really enhances your pieces. Look at how easy this is. So that is now the Buffy. Come on, Buffy girl. Look at how great. See how it softens that? It really doesn't take much time at all. It did not take me that long to paint this piece. So the door on the left-hand side is the after. The door on the right I haven't done yet. You can tell when we get done with this how much dimension this is added into this piece. I'm now taking my flat top 1C brush. It's called a 1C because it's the size of a 1 cent penny. That's just like 1 cent. So it's about the size of a penny on the top. I love this brush to get in the nooks and crannies and the crevices. It is my all-time favorite small wax brush. You can also use it to stencil with. It has a lot of applications, but I generally love to use my dark wax. Now I'm taking Mr. Buff, and really getting him in everything. I tell you what, I cannot live with the Buff. So there's the after. On the right side is the before. See how the wax has given it dimension and depth? It's kind of hard to see because it's far away. I will give you some close-up shots. There's your, on the left-hand side is and that's what it looks like up close. Isn't it beautiful? It's so luscious. The waxes all fit down, and that brush is what did it. So here you guys go. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching.